In this lecture, I will go over the object colors and materials. Now, inside of Unity, we added a canvas. So I'm going to select that canvas and disable it so that we can see the two objects that we have. So far, we have a sphere and a cube. If you go to the scene, you are able to see them. And press F, the F key, if you want to zoom in. All right, here they are. Now, the next step you want to do is add a color to this. So wouldn't it be amazing if we could just select the sphere and go to the inspector and change the color, right? Unfortunately, it's not that easy, because the way it works in 3D is that an object does not just have a color, but it also has a texture, which is called a material. So the material stores the color of the object and also the texture. It's even more complicated than that, because it also has shaders to be able to have effects. Let's say it's a fluid, so you want it to be able to, have some kind of a shiny effect and also be moving, right? So it's not just a color. It's way more complicated than this. And Unity takes care of this using materials. Now, this sphere has a default material, and if you expand that, and we cannot change it because it's the default material, you'll see that there's a bunch of different settings, but they are not enabled. So we're going to have to add a material to be able to enable this. All right, so let's create a material. Go to the project, and right inside of the assets folder, we're going to right click, create, and let's create a material here. So just select material. Let's name it material 1. Once we have that material, the next step, I'm going to click on it so that you guys can see it. And we have the inspector, and here it is in the inspector. Now, if you want to just change the color, not a problem. Just select the albedo and select the color tab. This right now it's white, and just put it to, let's say, red, and select the red in the palette and close the color palette. Now we need to assign this material 1 to the actual sphere. So select the sphere, look where the default material is, then we need to replace that. So select the material, and as soon as you select the material, you can actually see it in the bottom right corner. Here it is. So it's a very simple material, it's just one color. And now just drag and drop this material onto an object. As soon as I move around the object, you see that it's going to show the final result on that object. So select the sphere and apply it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is create another material to show you that we can add another color. I'm going to right click inside of the assets, create material, and I'm going to name this material material 2. Now I need to go to the material settings, go to the main maps, change the albedo to some kind of a maybe like grayish blue. All right, so grayish blue. And the next step is to assign it. So I'm going to take the material and assign it to the cube. Right? And I'm going to make a third object, but let me show you a different way. I'm going to take the material 2, I'm selecting it, I'm going to right click and duplicate, or command D is the shortcut. All right? Now, sometimes you may not be able to see the duplicate, like here, the duplicate does not happen. So let me show you another way to do that. Press the Alt key down or Option key down and drag and drop it below. As soon as you do this, you will see a green plus sign. That means that it's about to edit. And let go. As soon as you let go, it will add a new material. Okay, so let me show you. Let go. Here it is. Now that we have the material, let's modify it. So go to the main maps and select, let's say, some kind of a greenish color. Here we go. And the next step is to assign it. So I'm going to drag and drop this onto the ground. All right, so now if you press play, you will see these new colors inside of the game. All right, it looks a lot better already, right? Now I want to show you something interesting. Do you guys see the effect right now of the rotating circle? It's it's just a regular shadow, nothing special, but you can definitely change the way things look by selecting the material and playing with it. You can make it a lot more metallic by increasing the metallic value here, and you can also have different effects. Now we're not going to go into too many details. The reason why I don't want to go into too many details is that because this can be a whole course on its own. People, this is a whole career. Some people, that's what they do their whole life. So we can go on emission and emit a different color, as you can see, so somewhere around here, and the color will reflect on other objects as well. Right, then by the way, in the game, when you're in the scene, you might not see exactly what's happening. I advise you to go to game to really see the difference. That's when you see exactly what happens. So I'm going to go to the material 2 and make it a lot more metallic as well. All right, and so let's say now if you wanted to actually add not just a color but a texture. Well, let's go on the internet and find a texture. Okay, so I'm going to open Safari and let's go find a texture. So go to any web browsers and let's put the texture of bricks. So bricks texture. Now there's going to be plenty of them. I'm just going to go and take the first that I see, this one. All right, and I'm going to save it. So save image to downloads. Here we go. Now that I have the image saved, my next step is to go and grab it. Right, so inside of my downloads, here is the bricks. I'm going to drag and drop this into the Unity assets. There we go. And every time you add a texture, you're not going to be able to use it unless you select that texture and you either see that as being a texture. Okay, so that's important. But it might not always work. Sometimes you might want to have a sprite if you're using 2D games. All right, so right now it's a texture. So let's select the cube. Actually, let's select the floor. So I'm going to go and select the floor and take the material 3 and change the albedo and select the brick texture. All right, and now we have the bricks. Now, if you want to change how the bricks are tiling, go to the tiling and increase that maybe to, let's say, 5 by 5. All right, and that would take care of making them smaller or bigger. However, something else you want to understand is the tiling here as well, 5 by 5. As you can see, we have way more tiles now. And it's kind of bluish, right? So you can change the color to white if you want to have the exact same color as the original color. All right, so now when you go to game, you can actually see a brick floor that was done in no time, and the objects are interacting with it. Isn't that amazing? All right, so now you have enough to keep going, so you guys can have a lot of fun.